Today, we are joined by Ariel, and she is the social media marketer from Delta Vacations. It is an absolute honor and a pleasure to welcome her to our webinar today, and she is going to talk with us about her journey into marketing, her journey into social media, and also some personal branding as well, because Ariel has built an impressive personal brand of almost 6,000 people on LinkedIn. Perhaps you've seen her around. If you haven't, make sure you go give her a connection or a follow after our webinar as well. So Ariel, I would love to welcome you. If you could pop your camera and your microphone on.
Hello, thank you for that introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
Amazing. I know I've been so excited for this for so long, and I know lots of people have as well. So it's just amazing that we're able to do it now. So thank you for joining us. I know I gave a little bit of an introduction there, but I would love for you to kind of introduce yourself, tell the audience some things maybe that you'd like to share. And yeah, feel free to share what you would like.
Sure, thank you so much. So, yes, I do the social media marketing over at Delta Vacations, and my journey at Delta did not simply start 2 years ago. It actually started back in college. So, I graduated from Elon University back in 2019 and got my BA in strategic communications with a minor in business administration. And all while I was finishing up my senior year, I was actually so determined to get my foot in the Delta door that I was traveling to be an intern over at corporate communications, which was an amazing experience. And upon graduation, I dove into the nonprofit world, taking over 10 different social media accounts for a nonprofit. And then fast forward to COVID, our whole marketing department was furloughed like many others. And I had to think fast and quickly on my feet and dove into the world of freelance, and then made my way from there to Delta Vacations, where I'm happy to say I am now.
That's amazing. Okay. So one of my questions actually was if you had always wanted to pursue a career in marketing. And it sounds like you were pretty on the ball. You were like, I know that I want to do this. So when did you kind of know that you wanted to pursue it? Was it back in high school, right? So you were applying for university. How did that kind of come about?
That's a really good question. So I would say in high school, I always knew I wanted to do something with people. I'm such a people person. I'm definitely an extrovert. And diving into college, I thought, okay, where can I take this? And I really gravitated to Elon because it was a liberal arts university that allowed you to dip your toes into so many different ventures. And the reason I picked strategic communications to kind of guide me as a major was due to the fact that a lot of schools are just kind of limited to PR and journalism, and then you are boxing yourself in. So for me, I was able to take classes in everything from screenplay or script writing to social media marketing, graphic design, a little bit of a lot of things. And through taking more and more classes, I really gravitated naturally to the realm of social media. And I loved getting to learn through my internships pre-graduation what it was like to hone into the importance of caring about what you're talking about when you're posting or even just doing marketing in general, because the job is no 2 days are the same no matter which one you take. And if you really like what you're talking about, it helps in mundane moments or days that you're really stressed, because you know that you have a genuine gravitation to the material, and audiences really are a magnet for that because they can sniff out when you do not like what you're talking about. I mean, I've done work in even the financial world, and I got really bored really fast of what I had to write posts on, and you don't want to find yourself in that place. But mind you, not everyone can immediately get into a role that aligns with something that they genuinely love, but everything is a stepping stone to teaching you how to boil down and shift those voices. I really enjoyed having to find what a company might say versus their CEO versus a frontline worker, and they all have different topics that they would lean into. So having to be versatile in that skill set really helps along the way, I think, for any type of marketer out there.
100%. Yeah, I love that you mentioned too that people online can pretty easily sniff out when you're not necessarily genuine about your excitement. So, yeah, I mean, it is a big part of marketing. So, I'm curious as well for I know that you studied in university and then you had your internship and then you had some experience, like in your career and getting started. What do you think really prepared you for a job in social media marketing? Was it university? Was it your internships? Or did you kind of learn on the job really quick? Because sometimes it is you learn a lot in theory, right, in university, and then you transition to the real world and you're maybe a little confused on, oh no, I don't know what to do. So I'd love to hear your experience on that and what you found most valuable that prepared you for your career.
So I would say each piece had a pivotal point of contributing to that. So, university gave that foundation and the backbone of this is how marketing began, or these are infamous campaigns from Coca Cola or McDonald's that you should study and understand why they had the sorts of success that they did. So, once you learn the key things, or even, of course, proper grammar, right? So many social accounts you throw all those rules out the window, but it's still good to know initially because you will need it, especially in being an effective communicator with leaders and agencies you work with or other teams, etc. But through my internships, I just got to step into and boil down more and more of, okay, what specifics do I want to go into? And it inspired me to really never settle. I studied through my internships. I did a little bit of PR and realized very quickly what a lot of my friends in the industry say, where they overwork you to the bone and typically will underpay you. And it's hard to really grow in your path in that space because there is a ton of teamwork. Not that there's not in your individual roles in social and part of social media marketing, but it's hard to take ownership in spaces where it really is typically limited to a lot of group work. And for me, when I dove into the Delta internship, I just was obsessed with their culture. It was a space of I'm a theater girl. So it went back to the improv rule of anytime someone makes a suggestion in an improv moment, you say yes and continue with the scene. And Delta was kind of that yes and space where they were a sponge to fresh new ideas from young people and ways to keep evolving as a company with their creativity, with what they're focusing in on. And that's a really important space when you feel value and you feel empowered to share those ideas. And I realized, okay, even if there isn't a role for them right when I graduate that's open, I want to make sure I'm finding a company that's like this. And through doing social media, and falling into those roles, especially when with my first role in the nonprofit world, I had to, going back to changing your voice 10 different accounts that had totally different subjects, totally different target audiences. And I learned along the way to really shift my focus and balance a lot of tasks at once, and realized it was really addicting feeling because, again, social media is no 2 days are the same and you're kept on your toes, but that's something that keeps me going and excited to conquer the day, because you might have a plan where you have to get 5 things done off your to-do list, but all of a sudden something happens. You have to table it all to focus in. And I even got to step into the world of training for crisis communications over at Delta, and seeing what that was like just blew me away. I always tell people as many roles and internships and also conversations with leaders in the industry outside of companies that you work with. I would always reach out on LinkedIn to talk to people who were in dream roles that I wanted to have one day, and said, what is the reality of your day to day beyond this job description or the pretty post that we see on your page? And the more you have those conversations, the more you get experiences, you learn from others, you learn more about yourself, and you learn what makes you interested in the field to begin with, or if you want to make a complete 180 and pivot to something entirely different.
So I'm glad that you mentioned LinkedIn actually, because that's going to lead us into personal branding and speaking about that as well, right? Because especially in the last couple of years, LinkedIn has become really pivotal in building your personal brand and having those connections. Like you said, you can reach out to people and say, hey, I'm interested in this role, or I'm interested in this kind of position. What does it look like? More than, like you said, the pretty post. What does it look like on a day-to-day basis? Can you tell me more, right? So I'm curious to know how building your personal brand has also brought opportunities for you in your career, and how everything has kind of blossomed through personal brand. If it has, I'd love for you to talk about the benefits of building one, and maybe someone in the audience is thinking about really going in on their personal brand and why that would be such a benefit for them as well.
So, even before I built my personal brand on LinkedIn, one thing I learned in university was the importance of having an e-portfolio, or something that when people are looking you up, they get to see your thumbprint of things that you've created across the board. It's a place to showcase yourself. So, naturally, building a personal brand in a space like LinkedIn does the same thing. But the uniqueness of it is it shows beyond what your resume or your cover letter can ever express. And it's a place to shine your personality, your insights on trends and things going on in the world or your field. And it takes your knowledge to the next step of just being able to officially and proudly say that you do what you do. And personal branding and connecting in the space, I wanted to dive in because I always want to learn from others in the industry. And I think it's a beautiful place to do that, but also to communicate with each other when Meta or some other company throws a curveball out of left field and you're all trying to figure it out together. But the world of social media is a community, and our other managers who are out there for incredible brands, we get to lean on each other and reflect and spitball ideas. And you just don't get to do that in every industry. And the more people do, even if you work in the financial world, even if you work as, I mean, gosh, literally any career, you can build that space for yourself on your page and find those like minded individuals that help to challenge you and further you more in your career. And what's really nice about LinkedIn and what I did, I decided to get on because I also selfishly got really tired of a lot of the much older generation who they're already senior executives, they're already CEOs and presidents, and they're talking about what it's like to be at the top, which is so insightful. And we learn so much. But I wanted to learn more about, okay, but how did you get there? What is that journey that led you to this moment? What were the hardships? What were the failures? What would you have done differently? What would you tell yourself in your young 20s, just starting out in your career, advice wise, that you wish more young people would also soak in? So I thought, I want to be that. I want to be that person that I would have loved to look at her feed when I was in college or younger and starting to reflect on what I wanted to do in my life and show that unapologetic, unfiltered look behind the scenes viewpoint, because naturally people were interested in what I do working for Delta Vacations. But then it kind of went further of, I was speaking on panels and students would ask, how did you get there? Or what can I do better on my resume? What do I need to do to get to all these other points that are my goals? Or was it as easy as it seems? And being able to share the real version of what those journeys look like is so important, because then people are less harsh on themselves and carrying unnecessary weighted bricks of false narrative that, it's not always easy to get it, and no 2 days are easy when you're conquering this world, but we like to make it pretty because that's what the internet naturally typically does. So any way that I could help to change people's lives for the better, inspire them, reassure them, or put a smile on their face, that's definitely why I decided to hop on the platform and do what I do now.
Yeah, I mean, when I first connected with you, Ariel, I saw your passion and everything you just explained, right? Wanting to be that person that other people can learn from and see in the industry how you got there. And you're very open to, come on a webinar like this and educate everyone here and say, this is how I got here. These are some things I did. And that's a really beautiful thing. And I think as well, like you said, the social media world here in the community is astounding. You can reach out to people on LinkedIn, and it's amazing how willing people are to talk about their experience. Right? We all kind of love to talk about ourselves. So if you ask them, "How did you get here?" more than likely they're going to be willing to talk to you. At your role at Delta Vacations, this is a really impressive role. It's a really exciting role. It definitely catches a lot of people's attention, and I would love to hear what a day in your life looks like. I know you said that no 2 days are the same, but maybe talk about one day in particular or a super exciting day that would be interesting for our audience to hear. So I would love to hear your experience on that end.
Sure. So it's always a giant mishmash of things, everything from checking in on the community and managing comments and interactions with all of them, and then creating and building content, not just across all platforms, but also a ton of ad partnerships as well. We will have gigantic campaigns that we do from our end, but we have partners all across the world with different hotel lines, different international tourism boards. So, for example, Brazil might reach out and say, "We really need some more tourists. Here is this budget, and these are the goals that we have in getting more people here. How can you guys implement them through what you do on your ad creation or just even social media content building in general?" I'll have meetings with teams across the company, which I really do love. I'm never stuck in just my social media bubble. I touch all different groups from partnership to branding and more. And we all just get to bounce ideas off each other and work on other exciting campaigns. Like we might be doing a nationwide contest in a day, and well, not planning it in a day, but following up on plans for it. And we also will plan marketing branding trips, where one of my favorite things that I've gotten to do since jumping on board is act as really an in-house influencer and go on our vacations and show the experience to our followers from start to finish. And it's a really amazing, challenging thing because one, I dove into the world of travel because I have a wanderlust passion naturally. How can you not? But what's really cool is learning to master that vacation telling story that works for every type of traveler. You'll have someone who just wants to relax by the pool and have a drink and go to the spa and have some dinners, but that's it. And then you'll have the adventure seeker, you'll have the shopper. You have all these different categories, from the couple that goes and travels to the family to a solo traveler. So really planning out those ways of how are we going to best tell the story that helps to inspire and empower each of those individuals to say, okay, even though she only went on one trip, it inspired all these different groups to say that's something that I can still be a part of and have a ample amount of fun in experiencing it for myself.
I'm glad as well you mentioned understanding the type of people that you're going to be targeting with your social media, right? Like you said, the families, the single people, or the couples. So I love that. I am curious, what has been your favorite destination to travel with for Delta and your work? I'm just, this is a
Ooh,
selfish
that's
question.
a
I'm just
good
curious.
one. So I had two very unique experiences. I've had many more, but two that like really come to mind. I got to go to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, and I had been all over Mexico before, but it was the most elevated experience, and everyone who was there was just so kind, and I got to really further tell the cultural story of the city and what the locals experience, and it was just When I tell you they had actually a little bit of something for everyone, they really did. And it felt like such a just picturesque escape, and it was beautiful. Another one that I did that stands out to me from a learning perspective is Walt Disney World is one of our partners, and I got to go for the 50th anniversary celebration and a roller coaster launch that I got to experience before it was open to the public. So having to tell that story, but all while doing this Disney vacation, I was able to meet with all of the heads of social media that they have that touch everything from Disney parks to Disney cruise lines, Disney Run Disney, things in those categories, and really learn the importance of how they do what they do in their storytelling that trickles across the board from their commercials to their ads to their posts. And it was just kind of a beautiful thing. They really emphasized to me the importance of making your audience the hero of the story, which we talk about in social media all the time. What are the pain points? What are the things that selling this product or this experience is meant to contribute to help better this person's life or make the stressors of their week decrease instantly? And finding ways to really think about that in everything you do, because sometimes you can kind of get mindless in creating content and you have to stop and say, okay, wait a second. If I've never seen this page before and this is my first impression of it, am I really telling the full story that will suck that person in to say, I want to go to their page and learn more?
Okay, that sounds amazing. I'm I'm really jealous, but also very happy for you. I think that that's incredible and also a really awesome perk of the job, right? So all of those things sound amazing, but like you said, we like to make social media sound really perfect and pretty. I would love to know what are some challenging things you experience in your role, and what have you learned to do to adapt to those things or make them easier to handle on a day-to-day basis? Maybe pick one or two things if you have them. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So I would say, since you're focusing in on so many different things all the time, the hardest thing can be remembering to carve out time in my day for different parts of my role. You can get so stuck on working on a project and say, oh my gosh, I haven't checked on our comments on Instagram today to interact with our followers. I need to go do that. And finding the balance by really making sure, especially when working in social, that you put little blocks in your calendar for reminders for yourself slash times when people are not allowed to bother you, so that you can make sure that you are going through the checklist of doing all of your touch points for the day. It's something that we all are guilty of. I struggle with it still, but it's definitely something that I've improved on and worked on more and more over the years. And I feel like something that can be difficult is whether you're working with your another department on a specific campaign, or perhaps you're working with an external agency. When it comes to social, everyone has an opinion, but really understanding and coming in confidently with your details on why you believe you should do something or shouldn't do something, it's very important, because in our industry, things are ever changing with platforms, with algorithms, you name it, all the time. And we're still learning, but we are, of course, professionals. So there is a sense of trust that's established across the board for those who are working on social for any companies. But really believing and trusting in your gut instincts to say, even in situations that you don't necessarily know the answer, that you want to give that guidance and know that it's okay. Because sometimes, even though one department might have an assumption that they know the best thing to do, or they want to just make it right in a situation, but knowing that you have the data and the evidence to really stand your ground and show why you should be led in a specific direction, it's important. But across the board, the best thing you can do in any role, but especially in social, is always keep things honest and having those conversations. Because anytime you're testing, even if you do an A B test when it comes to ads, you're either going to have success from it or learn a great lesson. And that either way is a wonderful thing, because from there you grow, you evolve, and you know what ways to better conquer it the next time around.
I know we've talked a lot about, different ways and everything to get into the industry and your experience and your journey. But if you could give one piece of advice, right, the solid piece of advice for someone looking to get into social media or follow in your footsteps, maybe they're really excited about being a social media marketer in a travel type of capacity. What would be the one piece of advice that you would say 100% do this? Yeah, I would love to hear your opinion.
So I would say, even if you're not in a position where you can have a social media role at the time, start testing it out with an account. If you want to prove that you know what you're doing and you know how to do it, make an account. Maybe you like to cook on the side, build a cooking TikTok and let it thrive and soar, and let that be your virtual portfolio piece that you're showing people. Because even if you haven't had the company experience to do it, at least you're showing that you understand the beast to some degree, outside of what you currently do. The more you pour yourself into it, the more success you'll find. And if you ever want to have more conversations with people to get to those roles, don't limit yourself to just applying on roles on LinkedIn or company websites. Reach out. And when I say reach out to a lot of people, I genuinely mean a lot. If I could tell you how many DMs I sent in my career before I got to the role that I'm in now, the list would be way too long and would melt your brain. But the chances are, if you send out 20 messages, maybe you get two responses. But instead of saying, I really want a role or I really want this position, like you said, people like to talk about themselves. People want to have those more informational interviews where you reach out and say, hey, you're in my dream job. I would love to hear more about what it's like to do what you do and a little bit about the cultural experience of your company. Would you be able to get on a quick call with me? Or if you don't have time, answer a couple of email questions that I could send your way. And when you do that, people won't forget you. It makes you really stand out, and it puts that foot in the door a lot quicker than the robots who spit out your resumes right off the bat.
We're about at 12:30 now, so I don't want to take up too much of your time asking all the questions that I have today. So I would love to open it up to our audience. If we have any questions, I do think we had one in the Q&A. So I think I can put this on the screen. Okay, I will read it out, Ariel, just so that everyone can understand what you're answering.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, perfect. I think Brett put it on the screen. So, did you face any barriers entering into a male dominated area of business? I sometimes find some men in my industry don't respect the marketing team.
What a great answer. So it's funny. I, in my experience, don't find it in the ones that in the environments that I've worked in to be as male dominated, but for like the majority of my company, they're women, which shocks a lot of people. But when it comes to the men that I know, they have all been just the most supportive, wonderful humans, and really trust in things. Like, I have conversations with my CMO all the time, which I feel so fortunate to say that, because a lot of people can't say that at their companies, that they have that direct face-to-face interaction. And anytime we're talking through something with social or with marketing, he might make a suggestion about something, but then say, but I defer to and trust in you. And I feel very fortunate for that. But what I will say for people who are in those spaces where it's not taken as seriously, naturally, we creatives gravitate to the fun parts of social, and just all the inspiration and the bubbly wonderful feelings that come with it. And typically we go to it because we wanted to, if you're anything like me, avoid math like it was a plague, because I hate I hate math. But when needing to prove yourself in those environments, the analytics don't lie. Data is your best friend. And for that reason, you get to have a better relationship with it over time. So when people question things that you want to do, show the history of how it's worked, show them the numbers. They can't deny the proof is in the pudding. So anytime you're having those difficult conversations or interactions, just show them what you got.
I would have said the same thing. I think when you're dealing with people who are necessarily they don't see your vision or they don't understand your creativity or they push back on you, you're right, the numbers don't lie. So if you're able to show them your analytics, your data, show them the research you've done and why this will work or it won't work, whatever it is. So we've got a couple more questions coming in. So the next one. What advice do you have for a social media marketer in a small company who wants to grow in his role and grow the company's marketing and social media initiatives? So,
I love this because this was me. Um, so for anyone, and this is good advice for people who are afraid about stepping into the smaller side of things or feel like they're stuck and can't get to the bigger world of social marketing from there. You have the ultimate privilege to fill up your resume with golden nuggets of wearing so many hats. The more hats you wear, the more experiences you have, the more you get to just, again, fill up your resume. And that's an amazing thing. So, when trying to grow it, really showing what the needs are. So, if you're looking to expand it and you've proven to increase their profits by X percent in the time that you've been there, showing the data, doing some research on, okay, maybe I want to do the higher level strategy parts of it, but I need a coordinator under me to conquer this to help with the community management or maybe more of the day-to-day posting, content creation, etc. And really building the case of this is what I've done since I've gotten here. This is my vision for how we'll get there, but these are the resources we need to make it happen. Maybe it's not expanding your team. Maybe it's working with an external agency that help with some of the more creative planning that you need to take off your plate. But the more that you really work to tell that story, whether it's in a PowerPoint or a Word doc, or it's just a conversation in person one-on-one, just really focus on the intricate details of it because people will do that even when they're not working in social media. And that's just a great way to approach business.
I am glad that you brought up wearing many hats because I find on LinkedIn as well, we have kind of a narrative that you don't want to wear all the hats. It's kind of a joke, right? Like social media marketers have to wear all these different hats and it can be exhausting, but there can be a benefit to it, especially when you're starting out. Like you said, you get to dip your toe into all these different things. And then in your next position, you're able to kind of narrow in and, well, I had all this experience in X, Y, and Z. So yeah, that's a great answer. Okay, so next question is what have you found is the most successful content you have posted to boost your personal brand? That's a really good question.
Mm, it's always the ones that I did not think about for more than a minute. And I was the just spilling my thoughts and feelings into a post in a moment where I was like, I just need to get this out. I just need to say this one thing. Or even if it was something as simple as I cracked myself up and decided to make a meme about a situation I was just in and threw it out there. It's always the ones where I'm writing because it's what I want to say, not what I think others just want to read. And the more you do that, that's the secret to going viral 100%. It's just being you to the umpteenth degree.
Yeah, sometimes your best creative ideas come when you're just being yourself, right? And I love all of your content you post out, Ariel. I'm being really genuine there. You have so many great thought-provoking things to say, but you're also very funny as well. So
Aw,
I
thank you.
yeah, if you guys are not following Ariel, please go and follow her. You will not regret it. Lots of great content and you post really regularly as well. So lots of great stuff coming out. Okay, next question is okay, you're so lucky. I work in tech, so I'm like 10.1 men to women. Thanks for answering. Okay,
Oh my
so
gosh. First of all, what a queen. Like, just be, just show them what you got 24/7. They will respect you because you already naturally will stand out, and never let it put more pressure than it needs to, but just show them what you're worth every day. It's tech in general is so hard, and just to be a woman in that industry, I feel the same way about like engineers. I respect it so much. I also feel the same way about accountants. Like accounting was one of the hardest classes they ever took in college, and to this day I'm like, if just seeing people do it effortlessly, my hat's off to you.
okay, so next question is how do slash did you approach pushback on your methods, ideas, or recommendations?
So, again, I always believe you can learn from those around you, so you do not have all the answers. And I also learned, and this is important for creatives in general, you don't need to take things personally. And I know that's easier said than done, but you have to really work on as a professional separating yourself from your content and knowing I'm giving ideas to this business, or if you do freelance, to this individual and their company, and saying if it's not their vibe, if it's not what they're about, that's okay. We digress and we move on. It's not that your creativity isn't amazing, it just might not be aligned with the vision of what they want or need at the time. And that's another reason also that pushed me into doing LinkedIn. I'm like, no one has to approve right now this post that I'm going to do. I'm just going to say what I'm feeling, and finding those new outlets to do that. You don't have to go be a influencer or creator online. Maybe you just want to write poetry every night. Maybe you want to start a blog where you talk about whatever subject just gives you joy in your life. Just find those spaces where no one is telling you no, and you will feel those creative juices so much filling your cup that when you get the no's, they really don't throw you off your tracks as much as when they might have used to.
We've just got a load of questions coming in, so this is great, guys. Keep them coming. Okay, so have you experienced any obstacles getting multiple teams on one page?
We've all experienced it. It's just something I feel like everyone goes through at different points in time, but really knowing what types of communicators and their style of communication you're working with. So if you're talking to someone who's not as much of a creative, but they're more the numbers guy, then present it to them with the numbers that support to make it more digestible to them. If they're more of the creative and they love to give you ideas, but you don't want or need to venture far from the creative that was presented, then that's a great idea. Maybe we'll utilize it in the future. I really appreciate it. So it's making sure people feel seen and heard, but speaking to them in a way that they understand relative to the work that they do. I think it'll make those difficult moments a lot smoother in time.
That's really good advice. Okay, so I think we have time for about one more question and then we'll wrap it up. So, last one here is what is your advice for dealing with a company post not doing as well as expected? People are way more brutal over social media than in person. Haha. This is true.
It's a great question, and it's so great for even when you personally post. It is something you just there's no easy way to do it, but you just have to work on yourself over time to again separate it and say, "You know what? This is a picture of a moment that made me feel good," or "This was a post that I worked really hard for the company to create, and at least someone out there, like, just look at the likes. At least someone out there liked it and enjoyed it or commented, and you gave something good to their day. For everyone that you're going to hear your trolls and whatnot, there's going to be another side of positivity. And the more that you remind yourself of that, the more that you just start to let it roll off and know that it's okay because we're all human. We're not perfect. The content we make can't always be a home run, and that's okay.
And I would add to that as well, right? Like if you post something and it doesn't perform as well as you wanted it to, at least you've learned. It's a lesson that you can
Yeah.
take away and then you can bring it into your next content creation session that you're doing or share it with your team and say, "Okay, this is what we can learn from this." So, yeah, nothing is wasted. Post it, record it, and then move forward, right?
It's all about
Okay.
experimenting.
Yeah, it really is, right? Like social media is fast. It moves really fast, and you just have to try things, test, and then record, and then keep going and keep doing it. So, yeah, this has been absolutely fantastic. I know that I've really enjoyed my time speaking with you today. You shared so much. I really, really want to thank you for just laying it all out there and sharing with the community here. It will be recorded, so more people will get the email afterwards as well. But just fantastic. You gave us so much to think about, so much advice. And I'm just so happy that you were able to join us today. And yeah, thank you so much. I would love to give you the opportunity to plug anything that you have maybe coming up, place where people can find you, any kind of closing remarks that you would like to share with us.
Definitely. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast. I would say to For anyone who had more questions for me, please feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn under Ariel Berlinski, and I would love to answer anything else that you might want to know. Yeah, you can follow me there and then also follow all things Delta Vacations. But LinkedIn is definitely where it's at, and I'm always dropping many more pieces of advice and things to make you laugh along the way as much as I possibly can.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I will also inform you as well. We do have another webinar coming up December 7th. So if you would like to register for that, we are having another kind of interview like we did with Ariel, but it will be with Brett McCosham. And we're going to be talking about interviews, resumes, and cover letters. So specifically for marketing. So if you're interested in that, make sure to register. But I think that's about all we have time for today. We've got about a minute to spare. So, go and get some lunch or whatever time zone. I know we have people all over the world joining us today. But Ariel, thank you again so much. And I look forward to seeing all of your content on LinkedIn. And yeah, thank you for joining us today. I hope you have a great
Thank
rest of your day.
you. You too. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. See you later.